We are only 2 weeks away from the release of Reign of Jafar, and with new cards means new decks for you guys to try. Don't go anywhere, because Lorcana Goons has some deck lists for you to try on the week of release. Stay tuned. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Lorcana Goons channel. My name is Zach, and I'm here to bring you guys some awesome deck lists to play on the release of Reign of Jafar week. I myself have been looking forward to a lot of these cards the moment they've been released, and I built some decks to try and test out, and also picked a couple deck lists that I liked, one personally from our Discord server. So make sure you guys are joining by clicking down on the link below and get in our Discord server. A lot of people are sharing these awesome spicy deck list ideas, and I can't wait to see what you guys brew up from this new set. Alright, the first deck I'm going to go over, guys, is the most anticipated deck coming from this newest set, Churner Dogs. It's a deck that does exist currently in the meta, but the support that this deck got from the newest set completely puts it over the map. I'm talking some cards that are completely overpowered, like that 1-drop lady. That one costs 0/3 but gains strength for every character you play, and when it has 3 strength, it has 3 lore. I think that card's very overpowered. In combination with other 1-drops and the Tramp Enterprising Dog, you're going to give that character the additional strength it needs to quest for 3 on the very next turn you play her. And personally, I've included Megara from set 1 to play alongside, because only the one Megara gives her the additional strength. I know that Merryweather exists, but I'd rather favor the additional strength over the willpower at the moment. I think you're just looking to trade into other characters a little bit better, and that's just an additional body that can be used to trade up. Personally, I think there's a lot of other cards that can go in and out of this deck, but I have to showcase the newest Shift Tramp. That card's a powerhouse. He's a 6 cost, but you can shift for 4, and his ability does read that during opponent's turns, whenever another character of yours is banished, you may draw a card. So that replaces all your little dogs with additional cards and additional value, and it's going to help you find your Churner Dogs and eventually win the game. I'm a little scared of this deck, guys. I don't know if you guys have tested enough, but this is a very, very scary deck to have to play against. A lot of the answers decks play to this type of style of deck. It isn't enough. Like, Let the Storm Rage On doesn't even deal with that new lady. It has 3 willpower. You're going to really have to contest that race ability that this deck has. And honestly, I don't know how much you can win the race with our new Jacques. That was the card that we got to revealed. And I did include him in today's deck list for you guys. And I'm a fan. I'm personally a fan of that card. I think that card's going to see a lot of play early on, and maybe even kick Gogo Tamago out of the format. We'll see. But overall, this is going to be the top deck to go against, and I hope you guys are ready, because the dogs are out. And speaking of the dogs being out, this is another deck including Bolt, everybody's favorite puppy. I really think Bolt's going to go somewhere, especially the Shift one with all the illusion support. If that deck's going to take off, then Bolt's a good answer, and maybe this color pair is right for you. The new Bolt with 0 strength but 4 willpower and can quest for 4. I don't know why they printed a card like that. That's going to finish 1/5 of your race in this game, and I'm scared. So I think that this is a deck that I'm going to try and work on personally, because I'm a big Amber Steel guy, but also because I think that this is an overpowered deck, probably one of the few decks that can combat Churner Dog in the race abilities, and it's got a lot of my favorite cards in it, like 1-drop Cinderella, 4-cost Rapunzel, and some new additional cards that I haven't played in Steel Song, like the Shift Simba with the 1-drop package. Keep in mind, guys, there is a 2-cost Bodyguard Simba, so it does allow you to shift and play him exerted in the same turn. So you can definitely work on this list and try some other cards that I don't have in this list at the moment. But personally, this is going to come out the gates very hot, and I'd like to assume people are going to follow along suit, because Bolt's a very strong card. It's going to be able to gain you additional lore for every other character you have in play that's undamaged, and you have a lot of removal with this deck. So personally, I would make sure not to get zapped by the new Bolt. All right, guys. Now, this might look a little different than what you might have seen for blue-green strategies. That's right. I'm going a full shift deck. And this is honestly something that I tried as a little fun deck. And I don't know if this is actually going to be a strong, viable option, but I liked some of the way these cards work together. Personally, I think the Shift Fred is very underrated. I think there's a lot of utility that you can get out of him. I'm even trying to incorporate the Shift Merlin in this deck. Personally, that's just a card that I know will see a lot of play when it has good shift targets, but Morph is the only thing that I think makes sense because all the other Merlins just don't do anything. They're only there to tutor the Shift Merlin, so it is limiting some of your choices, but you have a lot of Floodborn cards in this deck like Clarabelle Light on her hooves. Don't forget that Gaston Powerhouse is a Floodborn character, so you can drop him early, but this is honestly a deck that I started just trying out based off theory. I'm a really big fan of Down in New Orleans. It's a 6-cost song that allows you to play a character, item, or location that costs 6 or less for free from the top 4 of your deck. So this is just a card that gets to cheat out all these big characters like Gaston, for example. You can also have some options to play like the Mother Gothel if you find her. Don't forget, guys, that you do have some evasive cards because any one of your Floodborn shift cards can gain evasive and ward with a Hero Hamada. So this is just a deck that can snowball into the late game very well. If you're playing against other greedy decks, I think this deck will do very well into that matchup. And personally, I think you can adjust some card choices to be able to combat against the aggro decks. But you have to keep in mind, everyone, that this is more of like a fun strategy for now, but I included some other cards just to give you a little bit of an edge, like the 1 copy of the Under the Sea, which you can search with the Shift Merlin, for example. So that's the reason why there's some of these cards are in there. I do want some, feedback on any of these lists I'm going to be showing you because a lot of them are just decks I built on my own. A lot of them are just coming off the little fun ideas I want to try. So please let me know down below what you guys think of this Shift deck. The color pair that people say will never work is here, Ruby Steel, and I think that this is now its time to shine. There's a lot of different ways to navigate a Ruby Steel deck. I know that there's like evasive shark strategies, and you can utilize a lot of cards like Fan the Flames and One Last Hope, but I'm going for more of an aggro strategy and more of a challenge strategy, as you can see in this list I have compiled together. It's got a lot of your original Steel and Ruby classics, but I included some of the new ones, of course, and that Mushu I think is going to do a lot of work in this deck. Personally, I don't think people would respect this deck right off the gate, and if you don't know what this deck's trying to do, it is going to catch you off guard. There is a lot of ways to interact with readied characters, so even your characters with War aren't safe, and you're gaining a lot of extra lore for no reason at all. Thebes is a location that I think is very slept on. It allows you to move characters there for 1, and anytime a character of yours banishes another character in a challenge, you're gaining 2 lore. And there's so many cards in here that do that. The Fazal, the Shere Khan, and personally, you can even include Robin Hood Shift Package if you'd like, if you're a big fan of that card. I don't think it's necessary. I think you have a lot of additional bursts of lore gain in this deck, and I included some more draw power to just help filter some of the cards, because I think that this is one of the deck's biggest weaknesses is finding more cards. But I really wanted to try Who's With Me, because that's a card that I've been looking at every once in a while, and I'm curious to know if it's ever going to work. So I'm going to try it in this deck, but again, leave your feedback down below, because this is a deck that I think has something there personally. All are welcome in the Casa Madrigal. That is right. I have here built a Madrigal song deck. Now, this is a list that I've kind of tinkered with even before in last set, but I've wanted to kind of make this deck a little bit more spicy because I like some of the cards that were revealed in Reign of Jafar. That 6-cost Alma that readies your characters once per turn when they sing songs is very strong. That doesn't even mean you can't quest after. It has no limitations. That means characters can challenge, characters can sing, exert to use any abilities if they have any, but most importantly, they can sing again. That's right. We have a lot of the Madrigals from previous sets and a couple new ones. And so this is like a list that kind of, is more on the fun side. I don't recommend, building this deck for competitive reasons. It doesn't have any removal, so it has a lot of weaknesses to Churner Dogs, for example. But I will say, I was testing on Ink Table with this deck, and I refused to quit until I at least beat Churner Dogs in one game. And I got there, guys. So it is possible. To those of you that tuned in to Mulligan Mondays this past week, we did go over Blurple as the deck we were learning to mulligan with, and a lot of new cards came out for this strategy, and I had to include this deck in a nice build. Personally, I think Blurple's in a very strong spot, even going into the Set 8 competitive meta. The new Into the Unknown is a 3-cost inkable dual-link song that reads, chosen exerted, a character goes into its player's inkwell, face down and exerted. So this allows your Elsa to be more spot removal for some things. You have 3-cost singers in the deck, so I am liking where Blurple's going to be at. I'm trying one of the new Ice Spikes as well because I like that card. I think it's going to be very important to have an additional way of interacting with opponents outside of having Elsa, because that song is so powerful, everybody. I promise you, Blurple is going to be a deck you'll have to respect if you haven't already respected it. I talked about it before, and I'm going to bring it up now. Blue Steel Allies will be a deck you have to respect, too, going into the next set. I'm a big fan of a lot of the cards that were revealed. That new Arthur, that 6/6 that costs 4, even though you're skipping your draw step, I personally don't think that that's a big deal at all. There's a lot of draw power I think this deck has, and you don't need to rely on drawing a card every time for your turn. You have the new 3-cost Uninkable Steel Action, Desperate Plan. That card does read like a Yu-Gi-Oh card. If you know, but I'll tell you guys that card will be a force to reckon with, and it was revealed that it will be an enchanted rare. I'm really enjoying some of these choices for their enchanted, so let me know down below in the comments what enchanted you guys have been liking too, because this deck will have a lot of new enchanted you can try out, including that new 4-cost Jasmine. If you guys have been, missing Blue Steel and you guys want to come back after the bans, of course, this might be a new way to try it out. Personally, I think it's very strong into the meta. You have a lot of strong characters that people have to respect, and I'm trying out a few new cards, so I think there's a lot of different cards that can go in and out of this deck. I think it's totally fine if you include Docs in here instead of Desperate Plan, but me personally, I just think that the card is a little bit better because you're drawing an additional card and you can pitch and cycle, so it has more utility, and it's not just a card that you have to feel bad about playing. However, Doc is an ally, and I think that can help the strategy and help give you additional card draw after you quest with your Jasmine. The Purple Steel Menace is here, and I think that this is going to be one of the top decks to come out into the Reign of Jafar format. There's a lot of new cards too, like some brand new illusion characters, also some old ones returning from set 7, and of course you have the big bad himself, the Reign of Jafar, the High Sultan of Lorcana. So this is a very strong card. You're able to play your illusions for free if he gets his quest ability off. He's hard to remove unless you're playing Steel. I don't think there's a lot of cards that can interact with this card right away. You are going to be using some other cards to trade into him, however. I think that this is going to be a very, very, very good deck. There's a lot of powerful Amethyst characters that you're playing in here alongside foxes and crabs. And, of course, Pete is a god card. I can't get over how strong that card is, and he will not be rotated out. So we're going to see Pete for more time to come. Honestly, this is going to be a strong deck. I'm a little scared. What do you guys think? One of the last decks we're going to showcase is a deck made by the Humble of Team Maelstrom. I do have to shout you out. You are an amazing supporter of the Goons content. And again, this is a deck that I know you love to your dear. It is your bread and butter, as what I would like to call it. It is Mufasa, and there's so many good tools that I like coming out of the new set for this deck. Personally, when I was building a deck, I was including cards like, the Evasive Tinkerbell and the Pete and the Prince John, but then I looked at your list, Humble, and I gotta admit, I don't think I could build it any better. So I'm going to, reference this deck in our video. And personally, if you guys are Mufasa enjoyers, this is the list you're going to have to use early on, because I think it has a lot of tools and there's a lot of surprise mechanics. You're able to re-ready your characters and constantly apply pressure with this deck, and I'm the big fan of that Goofy, the legendary from the new set. That is a very strong card in this deck because you have a lot of damage characters. And I like that you don't play the Elite Archer Mulan. However, you have the 1-cost one in your deck. And so many people, I bet, are scared of that card. And it doesn't exist at all. So I like that a lot. But this is a deck, if you haven't been playing for a very long time, will take some time to get used to. It is more of a tempo deck, so you are going to be just wanting to play big characters every turn, and you're trying to quest and you're trying to win that race. This is a very strong contender into the new meta, and I'm excited that players like Humble are getting ready to play their bread and butter once again. Last but not least, we have everybody's favorite, good old Ruby M, and I want to give a shout out to Dogby in our Discord. He's provided us with a nice list using a lot of the new cards from Steel Jafar. I like that we have the new Hades, for example. I think that card's going to be a lot of fun in this kind of strategy, and you have a lot of characters that do get some benefit when they have some damage on it, like the Queen of Hearts, or characters that are just flat right banished, like Diablo. But we're including the Hydra from set 3, and we're including the Maleficent from set 3, so we're getting some old cards coming back into the frame, and I like when people bring these cards to life. So shout outs to you. And again, if you guys like any of your deck lists to be showcased on any of our videos, get in our Discord server down below, please, and share your decks, because something like this stood out to me, and I think there's some ways to work on this and make this better. And again, iron will sharpen iron, everyone. Let's get involved and let's share these ideas. But yeah, shout outs to Dogby, always dropping Ruby M lists. He's a Ruby Amethyst enthusiast like my boy Kevin is. And again, this is a deck that I actually think will do some damage if you're playing in a local tournament. All right, we're going to go over a match really quick, everyone. I'm going to be using the Flint and Steel deck that I just showcased versus the Churner Dog deck that I just showcased. These are the settings I'm going to have on Ink Table just so you guys can see what's going on, and let's see how the match plays out. All right, opening hand, I have my 2-drop Queen of Hearts. This is the character with Rush. I have the new Shift Mushu. I have the Shift Queen of Hearts. I have an Imperial Proclamation. This is a card that it's going to be used. You guys will see how this card will be utilized later. Pete and a couple copies of the Mushu Majestic Dragon. So I found my 1-drop. I found a 2-drop. And I got to keep this Mushu because I think it's a very important card for the strategy. Plus, watch, I think we're going to be able to play him a little cheaper. Besides that, I'm going to throw away everything else, including the Shift Queen of Hearts. I'm going to see what I can get. I'm looking for more aggressive cards. All right. We had got the Light the Fuse. This is a new 1-cost uninkable action. It is a dual link card, but you get to deal a damage to amount of exerted characters you haven't played to a chosen character. I think that this card is lovely. So, let's see. I think the first card I need to ink is this Mushu. I have an additional copy and I won't need more than one. So I'm going to play this Imperial Proclamation and pass my turn. I'm looking to probably to deploy this Calhoun next turn. Then my opponent plays that lady. Oh, that lady's so scary. But this is why I like Calhoun, because it's a very good answer to this character. So we're going to be deploying this Calhoun for 2 and passing it back to our opponent. They're going to be in by questing. Again, this is with some AI. I don't expect them to make the most prompt decisions, but I think this is a good reference to what some of the play lines can be and play patterns with this deck. Keep in mind, everyone, I have this Imperial Proclamation, so I'm able to play characters for less, but I don't think that's what I'm going to be wanting to do right now. I think what it's going to work is if I ink this Queen of Hearts, and I think we're going to play the Thebes. The Thebes is going to be a lot of pressure for this deck, and we're going to help ourselves win the race a little bit early. So we're going to go ahead and clear this lady with the Calhoun. We get to pay 1 less ink for a character we play, but we're gaining 4 lore, which is very strong. I don't have a card I can play for 1 because I don't have a 1-cost character I can play for free. I'm going to have to pass my turn. But again, this was, I think, one of the better lines that you can make in this deck. I'm hoping for an inkable card because I want to deploy this Mushu. There's not that many songs in my deck, so this Ursula will not do anything to me. Let's see. So, ooh, this is the Fazoo. This is an interesting card. I'm not too sure if I'm going to want to drop this down right now, but we'll see. I'll gain the resist 2, but only when I'm challenging. And I'll gain 2 lore. And let me challenge into the lady, because that card's scary. I get to pay 1 less ink, and I get to gain 4 lore. Again, you're going to win the race a little bit faster with this list than Churner Dog can. You're gaining so much lore, and you're challenging characters, which I think is very overpowered. Let's actually deploy a Calhoun. All right. And let's play this Light Diffuse. I want to get rid of this merfolk because I don't want them questing too much. And we do have enough ink to move our other character over to the location. We'll pass there. We don't need to ink. I think we're going to keep these cards in our hand. Man, the Punish was the Shift Lady. That's a character that's going to return 2 characters with 2 or less cost from the discard to the hand. And that merfolk's right back where it was. But, okay. So, I think I know the line. I think we're going to ink this Mushu because I don't think that one's going to do anything for us. We'll challenge here. And I'll pay 1 less ink to play a character. And I'll play the Mushu. So it's going to resist 3 of this damage. I don't want to play into Rapunzel too hard. I'm going to pass. Yeah, it didn't make sense to quest either. Because the lady is going to be able to trade into one of my Calhouns anyway. There was some lines and some cards that I think I can get punished by, but we'll see here. And yeah, it was more like flood the board, play tramp, increase the merfolk to be able to trade into my Calhoun, which is something I was a little bit afraid of. We found another Thebes, which isn't necessarily what we want. So whenever one of your characters shouts, so even this character gains resist 2. Okay. So let's challenge this. I think that's how it works. Yeah, gain resist, and the ability triggers to gain lore. All right, I like that a lot. Oh, I could have moved it to Thebes. No, guys, no, the punish. We'll play this, and I guess we'll play the Thebes. And dang, I could have done it. Could have moved it in there and inked that other character. So we're getting all that extra lore here. And oh gosh. Oh, I just gained all that lore in just 2 swings, everybody. So again, this is a deck that I am actually a little scared of. I don't know if I created a monster here. You guys let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, everybody, that is Flint and Steel versus Churner Dog. Only the AI edition. So I'd like to test this deck a little bit more. You guys will see me go over Ruby Steel, I think, more often. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys liked our content, please check out our other videos. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you guys want more content from Lorcana Goons. This has been Zach, and we'll see you Goons next time.